and it's rising at the same rate as his plane. Like it's sitting there, it watches him go up, so it follows him.
That's strange.
Okay? Now, so as he's looking around, all of a sudden the cloud engulfs him. Now he's flying a little Bonanza, okay, which is not real big, and he's starting to go up, and he hits the sky at about 11,500 feet. So he's climbed 1,500 feet, and this cloud just comes up and goes boom, covers him.
And he's trying to get away from it, right?
He's trying to get away from it now because he's thinking, how did it go from down there up here and catch me at that speed? Okay, so he looks behind now, and the cloud that he saw is building into an enormous squall. It's like a semicircle. You know, in this area, George, a squall is like something that the rains came up and the lightnings flash and the skies go dark, okay? So now he sees another cloud building up in front of him, extending like 60,000 feet up.
Jeez.
So he's thinking, okay, now I'm in between two clouds. Well, he looks around. The cloud that's in front of him is the same cloud that's behind him.
He's right in the middle of it.
He's in the middle of it. Now he says, oh, my God. Now he's got his dad and this other person with him, and they're freaking out. Never seen, I mean, been in Florida all their life. And he says, his dad says, oh, my God, fly around it. Okay?
Now, are we getting radio transmissions from Bruce or anything? How do we know?
Everything is shut down.
All right.
His compasses are spinning. Nothing's working. And it's like he said, nothing fit. He couldn't see the ocean. He couldn't see the sky. There's no horizon. Inside this cloud, there's nothing but bursts of lightning.
Okay.
And all these colors going off, okay? So he says, his dad says, fly around it, fly around it. So he just guns this little Bonanza. Well, he curves out around it, and when he curves out around it, it follows him. It's like, George, like a big marshmallow that just goes around. You can't get up, down, or around it, okay? Now, as he tries to fly around it, it forms a donut shape, and it extends around him. He described it like he felt like a boa constrictor had flown up there and was squeezing him, because now he looks back, and there's a 30-mile diameter visibility, okay, and only 10 miles in front of him. He can't see anything. Everything is changed.
Now, is he panicking at all, or is he in control? Oh, he is.
He's panicking because his dad is a real experienced flyer. Bruce has been flying like 30 years, his dad 50 years. You know, I mean, these guys they're just out there flying around for fun, and all of a sudden this thing comes up, you know. So now the cloud comes up, George, and it engulfs them. They can't fly over it, under it, nowhere. And he can't get under it because the donut is constricting him like the boa constrictor. Now, this is about 4 or 5 miles up, okay? Now, these bright white flashes of light are bursting inside, okay? Now, imagine this. He said, you're in your house. It's a sunny day. You've got your Venetian blinds, and you turn them down so that you don't have any light, and the room gets dark, okay? The plane goes dark. The whole place, like they took the Venetian blind, turned it dark, okay? So now he looks down this tunnel, and about 10 miles away, he starts to see blue sky. And he's like, oh, my God. Well, about this time, George, there's weightlessness. He starts kind of floating inside his plane, and as he's floating, something is pulling him forward, and he's trying to pull himself back in the seat. You know, he's got his seatbelt on, but it's still pulling him real strong, kind of cutting into his shoulder blades. So he looks back now. The walls of this donut that he's surrounded in the middle of are collapsing behind him, like the snake would be pulling his coils on him.
Right, right.
So he's thinking now, oh, my God, this thing's got us. You know, what are we going to do? All of a sudden, the walls that are behind him that are collapsing start forming slits, exactly like you would take your Venetian blinds, turn that thing, and now you've got slits. And below him is Miami Beach. The cloud disappears. And he looks down. Now, he just left Andros Island, okay, Bimini. That is 50 miles from Miami. It's a 30-minute flight, okay? He looks at his watch. He's been gone 3 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He looks at his gas tank when they land. He's like, they're just freaking out. They're going, what? And he thinks to check his gas tank. He's got 10 extra gallons.
What did he conclude by all this?
Okay, let me get to this. He said, he said, we went through 100 miles of space in 30 minutes of time in 3 minutes, according to the logbooks. Okay? Only thing he could figure, George, was that this cloud, somehow, there was an electronic, that fog that he's talking about, that it messes up the compasses. He's talking about time somehow is compressed in the magnetic waves. You know, the compass is spinning and all that. And the only thing he can figure is it's a time warp. Because how can you explain going from there? I mean, this is a man who's been flying all his life, comes from Bimini to Miami in 3 minutes. It's a time warp.
We've heard other stories, Joe, about people flying into this green-type mist, seeing World War II bombers, and these are modern-day pilots who flew into it, and then they fly out of it, and they're gone. It could be something very strange like that out there.
And seeing the Flying Dutchman, some of the ships that they've seen, you remember the Flying Dutchman that was supposed to be? Right. They see ships.
Tell me about this lost Cessna 172, piloted by the woman, Carolyn Cascio.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Okay, this is my...
This was back in June of 1964, I believe.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, yeah, that's my number. Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. It's not very long, but now this happened... I think this happened right off of, the Lost Cessna. Okay, she's flying along there. She's got a passenger. His name's Richard Rosen. Okay, their flight plan, she was going to refuel at Grand Turk Island. On her way from Pompano Beach, she's going through the Bahamas, headed to Jamaica. Well, about the time she should have reached the Turcos Islands, the personnel of this small airport, they saw the Cessna 172. Well, she's circling the island. They could hear the voice. She's talking to her passengers, but they couldn't make radio contact from the tower. She was heard to express concern about the gas supply. Now, this happened, ironically, George, also in the Flight 19. At first, the tower and the Flight 19 could talk back and forth. All of a sudden, only Flight 19 could talk to each other, but they couldn't talk to the tower. She's trying to talk to the tower, but they don't hear her. So all they're hearing is she's saying, there's nothing down there. And she's saying, the horizon doesn't look the same, the ocean doesn't look the same. All her compasses, everything starts going crazy, okay? And she said, the last thing she said was, is there no way out of this? All of a sudden, the plane disappears off radar.
And she's gone.
She's gone.
And we never found her.
Never, not anything.
Is it possible that we somehow in that region could be connected to another parallel universe, and that seems to be the portal up there?
That's you're exactly right. The sky actually, in some of these cases, the sky actually, people watched the sky open, and the plane flew into the open sky and just disintegrated. And I don't mean blew up, but it just disappeared. Now, here's another weird, excuse me, George. On the observers on the Turk Island could see the plane and heard the conversation, but she couldn't hear the tower. So they were saying, through a singular reverse inversion of time, she was in effect looking at Turk Island, but a moment in time before the airport was built.
Jeez.
Uh-huh.
And let's assume for a moment she goes through into a portal, into another parallel universe. What do you think she sees? I mean, is she still there now, flying around? What do you think has happened to her?
I think, well, it's the same thing, and they stopped the transmission. You've probably covered this before about the Admiral Byrd when he's flying to the South Pole.
Right.
You've heard that story where he looks down and sees the prehistoric mammoths and cavemen?
Yep.
Okay. That type of thing, she could very well fly right into a place like that or anywhere, I suppose, and I'm sitting here thinking, well, she's going to land. She's got to land somewhere if she's going through a portal, you know? She's got to land, unless she crashes like maybe Amelia Earhart or someone like that. She's got to go somewhere, I think.
Or she's still flying, Joe.
Or she's still flying.
Well, Joe Bullard, we'll talk a few more cases here, and then we'll get into some more possibilities of the Bermuda Triangle. The Cessna went off into Never Never land. How about this case? Let's get back to this Flight 19. Tell me about that one.
Okay. The Flight 19 was 5 Avenger bombers, torpedo bombers. What they were doing, George, they were on a practice run. And this, I said, this is how the Bermuda Triangle actually got its name. And what they were going to do, it was supposed to be a 2-hour run. They were going to leave Fort Lauderdale. They actually took to the skies at like 2:10, and they were going to fly out to Bermuda and then come back down to Puerto Rico and then back over to Fort Lauderdale. That's what forms the triangle, and that's where the Bermuda Triangle got its name from. However, a few minutes after they got up there, when they were flying through that area, they just about got into Bermuda kind of halfway through, and their instruments started just everything going crazy. And there was 2 guys. The guy who was leading it, Powers, he was a very experienced flyer, and some of them were students, and some of them were students, but they had some good hours in flying time.
They knew what they were doing, right?